I am here to tell you about what sold in the month of January. I'm a little slow on getting these videos out on what sold, but in the month of January, I sold 33 items for total sales sold $2,095 for a profit of $1,064. So that was after the cost of goods, which was $580, and eBay sales. Now, what's interesting about this when you sit back as a reseller and analyze what sold is I'm looking at it and going, of that $1,064, only 14 of the 33 items, so 14 items made up $849 worth of the sale. Was it worth it to sell the rest of those smaller dollar items? Particularly when two of the items, just two out of the 33, accounted for a quarter of the profit, right about $250. Was it worth it to sell the rest of it to make that extra money, that extra couple $100? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through everything, so even the small stuff, and you tell me whether you think it's worth it or not. First two items are a loss, and the first thing that I sold is Sun & Gore binoculars. Paid $25 for them, sold them for $23.29, and after fees and everything, I lost $10.78. I thought they'd go for more. They don't. They weren't worth it. Next up is this Purple Cow Squishmallow. Paid $10 for it, sold it for $44.99, but it was free shipping, so that hurt out just about $30 in shipping, so I lost $1.75. Just a bad deal calculating on my part. These Squishmallows, not worth it when it's free shipping. Next, command strip hooks. Now these things are expensive, so I really thought these would go for some bucks. So I started out kind of high, but I had to keep lowering the price, and they weren't going. I paid $15.62, ultimately sold them for $25. It was free shipping, so I made $1.03. I was just wrong. They don't go for that much. I thought they would. Next, we got these Storyville mugs that I've had forever. I just wanted them gone. I paid $2. They sold for $10. Shipping was $8.66. After it was all said and done, I made $3.31. Not worth it, got them gone. Next up, cameras. I like cameras, so I'm kind of a sucker for buying them. I thought I could make some money on this Canon A80, but I couldn't. I paid $10, sold it ultimately for $19. After fees, I made $4.94. Again, just a bad buy, not looking at it properly. Next is this Russian Stava ship. Paid $5, sold it for $2, $7.15. I bought a lot of model ships. I think there were 23 total, and this was one of the small ones. I could have just not sold it. Was it worth the effort to box it and list it and all that? I don't know. You tell me. Kind of thinking about it, it probably wasn't. Next up, we got this Canon 232 ink. Paid $8, sold it for $25. Free shipping, which means I made $7.95. New ink is easy. It's easy to list, easy to ship. So I'm kind of like, probably not worth it, but I don't feel too bad about it. Then we got a mistake, another one. So a lot of my low dollar items are mistakes. This bag of beads. Paid $4, sold it for $26, made $8.25. I thought they were all glass beads when I bought it, but there was a lot of plastic, so the value of them went right down in a dark place where it doesn't really work so well. Next is the Camelback water supply. You wear it and you can drink it out of a straw when you're running. It's brand new. Paid $6 for it, sold it for $22. After everything was said and done, I made $9.50. Easy to list, easy to ship. I don't know if it's worth it or not. Then we got this Callaway 4-wood, paid $15, sold it for $40, free shipping. After fees, I made $10. Not worth it. It's just not worth it. I shouldn't have bought that golf club. Tennis rackets, so are they worth it? This is a head tennis racket, paid $8, sold it for $25. Buyer paid shipping. After it was all said and done, I made $13. Rackets, probably not worth it. They're kind of tedious to put together. If it was ink, it'd be worth it. Sony CDPE CE375 CD player. CD players not moving and not the same kind of money they were a year and a half ago. So this one I paid $20, sold it for $87, but it was free shipping. So after fees and everything, I made $14. Definitely not worth it, because the box to ship it probably cost me $3 or $4. So that eats into my profit right there. Then we've got this decorative globe light bulb. It was $0 because it was part of a lot of where I already sold the light bulbs and recovered the cost. Sold it for $20. Buyer paid shipping at $8.79. So I made $15.51. That's worth it. Light bulb, easy to ship, easy to list. I'll do that all day long. Then we got this Sonic Gold plush. $8, sold it for $35. Buyer paid shipping at $6.34. Made $18.11. That seems better to me. It was on a cart in Goodwill getting ready to be stocked out on the shelves, and I walked by it and I almost ignored it, but my brain went, that's weird. Come back and look at it. So I looked it up. I'm glad I did. For $18 for a plush, that's easy. Next up, we've got this Sylvania 100-watt bulbs. 50 cents is what I paid for these. Sold them for $15.50, and buyer paid shipping. I made $18.67 because I made about $5 on shipping because they paid more than what it needed to be. And I never feel guilty about that because I've got time into shipping. I've also got packing materials that go into shipping, so that kind of makes up for those aspects of shipping. Next, I've got this HP 8600 printer screen. $0 because I'd already sold other parts of the printer to recoup my cost, and I sold it for $29, which means I made $18.71. It's a lot of work to take a part off the printer and to list all the little tedious parts of it. Then we got 2 more ships out of that lot that I got. We've got this Schleswing ship. I assigned a value of 10 to it, sold it for 42, and after shipping and everything, I made $24.51. The Sedlitz ship, assigned a value of 5 to it, sold it for 45, and after fees and everything, I made $28.07. Oh, those 2 are worth it. That wasn't so bad. They were brand new. It was easy. I probably shouldn't have the earlier one. It was just $7. Probably should have just donated that one. Just sold those 2. Next up is the first one of the 14 items that makes up 80% of the profit that I've got out of January. This is a TI 84 Plus Silver Edition calculator. Picked it up for 10, sold it for 50. After profit and everything, I made $26.79. And then we've got a couple of food savers, the V8440, picked it up for 20, sold it for 60, so I made $28.19. The FM200 food saver, I paid 8, sold it for 44, and made $30.39. Food savers can be worth it. It just depends on which one, so you've really got to look at the model number to see if it's worth it. And then, of course, condition matters as well. Then we've got this Lego kind of robot We Do educational kit. Paid $27.20 for this one. Sold it for $90. Free shipping. Unfortunately, that's the way they all were going. But I ended up making $32.24 on it. Probably not worth it because I got 4 of these and I had to sort to make sure all the pieces were there. Then we've got this Easton Synergy bat. Bats are always worth it. I paid 10 for this, sold it for 51, paid $37.31. You list them fast, they're easy to ship, and they don't break. Love bats. Then we've got this Bradis Solus coffee grinder. Paid 15, sold it for 65. After fees and everything, I made $39.66. Now, what's interesting about this, when I picked it up at a Goodwill, there was another reseller in there who said to me, "That's not worth it." He said it like 4 times. "That's not worth it. That's not worth it." Like, he was kind of gloating, like, you're being dumb. But if I can make $40 off of something like this, it was pretty easy. I think it's worth it. And so there we are. Anyway, sometimes you just disagree with other resellers. Then we got this TI 84 Plus CE calculator. I don't see the CEs very often, but they are worth more. Paid 8 for it, sold it for 65. Free shipping, made $41.40. We got a Whisper Mill grain grinder. Picked this one up for 60. Sold it for 114.42 cents. It was free shipping, and I ended up making $48.86 on it. Now, the reason I made money on this is because it got lost. I don't remember if it was UPS or FedEx, but they lost it. So my buyer's like, "Hey, where's my stuff?" And I'm like, "Okay, didn't get to you." So my policy is to refund 100%, including shipping, and take it up with the shipper. So I refunded him his money, so he's happy. And then I went to FedEx or UPS and got them to refund me. So I came out ahead. The reason I came out ahead is because I didn't have to pay eBay fees. Next, we've got this Adcom amp. I paid $100, so I was paying up for this dude. Sold it for $160 on Facebook Marketplace, and then, of course, I had tax in there of $9.30, which gave me a profit of $50.70. Now, the reason I sold this on Facebook Marketplace is because this thing was beastly heavy, like crazy heavy, and the shipping on it would have just crushed any profit I was going to make. Heavy items, if you ship it, eBay calculates the final value fee, what you owe eBay, based upon shipping cost, and super heavy items cost a lot of shipping, which incurs larger fees, which can crush your profit. So keep that in mind if you're new to eBay reselling. Next up, I've got a lot of calculators. These are TI 83 and TI 84s. I think I had 8 of them in there, maybe 9, I forget exactly, but I sold them to a guy. I got a guy that buys my calculators. He's out of Tennessee. Apparently he sells them to the government, and I don't know what that means because he's kind of cagey. He doesn't really want to tell me exactly what he's doing with them, so I don't cut in on his business. I don't know if it's schools or or NASA or whatever it might be. But anyway, he buys them from me. It's an easy outlet. I avoid eBay fees. Next up, I've got this K2 snowboard, which I sold locally. Paid $25 for it, sold it for $80. So after tax, I made $52.69. This is my 4th or 5th snowboard that I've sold. I think all of them at one have been K2. So if you're out looking and you see that brand for a snowboard, take a look. As long as it's not a kid's board, it's probably worth something. Probably. Next up, I got a golf case. I like golf cases. I do them periodically. I paid $30 for this, sold it for $125. Also sold this one locally. So after taxes on the purchase price, I made $92.22. We got this plastic film scanner, paid $12, sold it for $125, and buyer paid shipping. Shipping was $12.02, and after that I made $95.09. Now, the interesting thing is, I almost passed on this. In fact, I did pass on it. It looked like a cheap piece of junk, and I walked by it. But my brain was like, that was a little weird. You should look that up, and it turned out to be worth something. So, but you've been reselling for a while, you kind of get that's weird, right? Weird and heavy go together as two things you want to look at when you see them on the shelf. So I'm glad I came back to it because it was a good pickup. Next one is a Nikon Coolpix S6200 camera. Paid $15, sold it for $165. Buyer paid shipping, and I made $118.15. I love cameras, and this was a good one, so that is the second most profitable item for the month. And the most profitable item, rounding out that 25% of the profit to about $250, is the Sony Hi8 tape camera, the TRV 320. I paid $50, sold it for $250. Buyer paid shipping at $15.45, which means I made $130.86. So these Sony tape cameras from like the 90s are worth money. The all black ones, no, but the Sony ones are worth it. Panasonic, JVC, RCA, the other brands, they just don't go. It's not worth it. Sony is it. So was it worth it? Were those other 19 items worth it? Would you have left the rest of the money on the table? Roughly $220 came out of those 19 items. The 14 gave me the $849, and 2 gave me $250 in profit. All of that's profit. I don't know that those lower items are worth it, to take the time to have to source them, clean them, do all the work on them to make them go. Are small ball items worth it? You tell me in the comments. Till next time, happy thrifting.